Grow in the Lord. Bishop Kulik is in the garden talking about planting the seeds of faith in our young people, what it will mean for all vocations, especially future priests. Then, how this priest is praying it forward after the wonderful support he received during formation. And a local dance teacher shot in the leg by a mass shooter.
And we heard pop, pop, pop.
Under fire and crawling for cover, she turns to the Lord. Welcome to the Accent on Air. I'm Jennifer Mealy. The vegetable garden behind me is planted, cultivated, and harvested by parishioners at St. James Parish in New Alexandria. And that's exactly the bishop's vision for vocations. He's in the garden asking all of us to grow in the Lord.
I'm here today in my greenhouse at home in Leechburg, Pennsylvania. And one of my hobbies, along from being a car enthusiast, is I really enjoy gardening. And I've already been able to plant some of my seedlings, and as you can see, some of them are beginning to grow. Some of my kohlrabi are coming up, some of my tomatoes. And I'm right here now getting ready to plant some pepper seeds. And when we think about gardening, gardening really has a beautiful imagery, not only of understanding God's creation, but also of planting the seed and allowing it to grow. Has beautiful scriptural imagery, but also as we think about vocations, the image of the seed is how God gives us that seed that represents that vocation that He plants in our heart, and how we need to nurture that seed, and given the right environment, given the right condition, given the right care, that seed of the vocation is then called to sprout, to be nurtured, and to grow. And some of the seeds are very small seeds, and they take time to not only germinate, but they take time to sprout, and they have to be cared for. And that's how a vocation is, whether that's a vocation to the priesthood, to the diaconate, to consecrated life, or to married life, or the single life. The seed of our life that God has given us, the gift of that vocation, is called to be nurtured. And through the different seasons of our lives, what begins as a seed is nurtured and begins to grow as a seedling, is then transplanted into the garden and continues to grow. We recognize that just as Scripture says, the seed falls to the ground, and the good seed that falls on good soil produces an abundant fruit. Every stage of the growing process is important and critical. And just as the germination took some time, and look how beautiful the ring of fire peppers have started to grow, an important part of the transition is that the plants have to move from the greenhouse into the garden. And that's a critical moment because the conditions outside the greenhouse are not as regulated, they're not as controlled, the weather is variable, and sometimes plants can go through a little bit of a shock. I think that imagery is really important because so many times in the seminary or in religious formation, or even as young adults, we've been really sheltered by the greenhouse. We've been fed on time, the temperature's been kept warm, and then all of a sudden we're put out into the world. And so the vocation goes through another transition, that transition from figuratively the greenhouse into a little more of the unpredictable world. But that's why it's so important that we know in each of these steps we take the proper care and we take the proper attention. And that's where we all work together, and the great work of the people in our parishes, the great mentoring of our pastors and deacons help that transition from the greenhouse to the garden.
Growing the culture of vocations in every parish is the job of Father Tyler Bandura.
It is really important that we plant the seeds of faith to harvest the next generation of priests for the Church. That's why in the Diocese of Greensburg, creating a culture of vocations has been so important, raising that awareness that everyone is being called by God to something very specific, whether that's the priesthood, the consecrated life, the single state, or the sacrament of marriage. One way that we have created that culture of vocations is by encouraging each parish to create a task force that focuses on ways within each parish that vocations can be promoted. That work of promoting these vocations belongs to every single person, not just the priest, but the members of the community. We have various groups throughout the diocese that meet on a regular basis throughout the academic year. We have a group called Jeremiah Days, which is for middle school aged boys and their parents. We have our high school discernment group. There is also the Melchizedek Project, which is for young adults. And so these groups are wonderful opportunities for that individual thinking about the priesthood. Not certain that that's what they're being called to, but open to that reality that God might be calling them to this vocation. As our seminarians go throughout the process of formation, one of the key aspects that they experience is a summer assignment. 2 seminarians assigned to one parish and the pastor, experiencing what life is like within a particular parish.
After being ordained now for a few months as a transitional deacon, I've been able and blessed to baptize many babies, bury the dead, pray with the sick, bring communion to the dying. I'm looking forward to returning to St. Charles this fall to complete my last year of formation in the seminary, and I look forward to coming back to the Diocese of Greensburg and, God willing, next summer be ordained a priest.
Being assigned here this summer, part of the project was, we have Drama Bible Camp, and we chose the Bible series. The story was Cain and Abel, which we focused on in the book of Genesis.
I would say my favorite activity with the kids so far, and specifically maybe one group, was the first graders. Today we went over and we had that competition, that competitive game, but there was team chants and just a lot of laughter, and they also learned a lot of knowledge from that, so that's always all-encompassing and a good day.
Our summer assignments to me are very important because we get to work with the priests of the diocese and spend time with them and see what their life is like on a daily basis. Opportunities to go out to people's homes and bring communion to them and visit with them.
This is what I signed up for. This is what I want to do. I want to be out with the people and being part of the sacramental celebrations here and being part of their life and their milestones. We had the opportunity to offer what we called the Altar Server Master Class. So we had some brand new servers come and learn. And I think that serving is a great way to kind of plant the seed for a potential vocation, or at least to think about the way that God is calling them to serve in their life.
When I think of a religious vocation, I really think it's ministering. It's reaching out and helping others.
The Sisters Community Garden is a unique ministry that allows them to reach out to the Greensburg community while also planting the seeds of faith.
And so we have 2 fields in our garden project. One field is always a crop that we share with Seton Hill University Kitchen and also with the Westmoreland County Food Bank, as well as our own sister charity kitchen. Last year we had an awesome crop of potatoes, about 700 pounds. So this year our main crop is sweet onions. And in the other field, 13 rows of sweet corn, 38 rows of sunflowers, and 3 long rows of garlic. We have students come from Seton Hill to volunteer, and some of them have never been in a garden, and to give them that experience is just a joy.
What if your entire school showed up to your baptism? It happened to a Queen of Angels student when she decided to become Catholic. Find out why next on The Accent on Air.
I'm John Zilka. Cards and letters from nearly 30 years ago still inspire local priests. Coming up, how he's now paying it forward.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at CASAforChildren.org.
More than $4 million in tuition assistance is now available for Catholic schools in the Diocese of Greensburg. Become a top student today. Visit CatholicSchoolsGuide.org.
Ford Business Machines technicians are never satisfied with anything less than perfection.
Which is better, 1 or 2?
They take the time to fully understand the scope of the issue and make it crystal clear that you will be able to view your documents at a level that you should expect.
Now, which is better?
That's the one right there.
Don't settle for less when it comes to your company's image. Call today for a well-defined analysis of your current picture.
Welcome back to the Accent on Air. Gardens like this one at St. James Parish in New Alexandria always yield a good harvest. And that's because parishioners here spend so much time caring for them. John Zilka tells us how cards and letters to seminarians often work in the same way.
I'm John Zilka, a local priest supported by the faith community during formation, is now paying it forward.
I was an altar server, I was a lector when I was in high school, it was during that time when I was in high school that I started to think about seminary. I attended St. Vincent's Seminary, and there was a day, it was late October, I was having a bad day. I went to the mailbox to get my mail, and I opened my mailbox. There was a big manila envelope in there from St. Sebastian's School in Bell Vernon, which kind of surprised me because I knew nobody from St. Sebastian's School in Bell Vernon. Inside there were about 20 third grade Halloween cards, homemade Halloween cards. Construction paper, little witches, little pumpkins, exactly what you would expect. And it really brightened my day. And I read the letter from the teacher, and they had indicated that all the classes in the school had decided to adopt a seminarian to write to and correspond with, and the third grade class had chosen me. I wrote back to the kids, and that began a correspondence that continued throughout the year. They would send me cards, different holidays for different things. They would write letters and ask questions. I would respond. They continued to be my adopted class all the way through. At the time I was ordained, they were completing 7th grade. That summer, I got a call from Bishop Bosco giving me my first assignment, St. Sebastian's in Bell Vernon. These kids were going into 8th grade, and so I already had that natural connection with the kids, which was really great. And when that school year ended, 8th grade graduation, I had, being the pack rat that I am, 5 years worth of cards and letters and everything that these kids had sent me. So 8th grade graduation mass, which was a Saturday night parish mass, pulled out one sample from each of those kids and worked that into the 8th grade graduation homily, which the kids loved, families loved. It was a great experience for all of us. Just that whole process of adopting a seminarian and keeping that correspondence was important because there are a lot of, we go through rough periods, we all do. Seminarians do as well. And it's nice to know that there are people out there that are praying for you, people that are out there supporting you and backing you. As a pastor, I have the opportunity to return the favor. I raised with my faith formation office doing the same thing. And so last year, our faith formation classes at St. Regis each adopted one of our seminarians and did the same thing, paying it forward. What had been done for me back in my seminary days, we're now doing for the men that are in the formation program for the diocese now. To have that actual connection and to know by name somebody who's out there in a particular parish doing a particular thing, who's praying for you and supporting you is very important.
Prayer services are underway for Father John Mono after he announced a pancreatic cancer diagnosis. He's asking all the faithful to pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy so we might honestly live out the words, Jesus, I trust in you. At Queen of Angels Catholic School in Irwin, families, faculty, and staff gathered with their rosaries to pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Afterward, the children took time to write inspirational messages on the sidewalk for Father John. We're praying for you, we love you, and even chalk portraits of Father John himself. Others carefully added their handprints to the now famous image of Merciful Jesus, popularly known as the Image of Divine Mercy. The image was painted in 1934 according to the visions of Sister Faustina. She became the first saint who was canonized in the new millennium, and the Universal Church began to celebrate Divine Mercy. Father John has been deeply affected by the life and spiritual vision of Saint Faustina. As he deals with this part of his journey of a lifetime, he has asked all of us to consider participating in Mass.
Your prayers, individual prayers, and community prayers outside of Mass are awesome. But there is nothing more for me that can be solace, is to know that you're filling the churches and going to sacred Mass, especially when I can't be there, especially when I can't even, I'm sure as time goes on, be able to celebrate Mass. I don't need, people to to make the little yellow bands or the ribbons. I appreciate the thought. We don't need any fundraisers. We're not going to need any money to get through any of this stuff. I just need you to keep loving me, and and keep praying and encourage people. And if you have been afraid to come back to Mass, maybe this is what God's saying. Hey, this is who we are as a people. And COVID isn't the thing to be afraid of, and cancer isn't the thing to be afraid of, and heart disease isn't the thing to be afraid of. Not loving is the thing that we need to be afraid of, and we're good at loving.
Father John was instrumental in the conversion of a Queen of Angels student who lost her mother last year. To show their support, the entire school showed up to celebrate. Cassidy VEHAR was beaming in her white dress. The 12-year-old was baptized into the Catholic faith.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And received her first Holy Communion in front of her friends and family. The only person who wasn't there was her mother. Cassidy's mother, Jenna, had been in addiction recovery for 4 years when officials believe she died accidentally, most likely from a combination of her prescription medication and an enlarged heart. She was 34 years old.
When my mom passed, I felt like I got more closer to God. So then I knew I wanted to get baptized and get my first Holy Communion. My mom was always Catholic, and then she wanted me to go to a Catholic school. Every time I would go to school and go to Mass, I always felt my mom was with me and that she wanted me to be happy. And she loved me so much and she wanted me to live a happy life. So I just woke up one day and I was like, my mom misses me so much. And I go to school and I'm like, I'm thinking of being Catholic.
We all kind of thought it would be a wonderful way to celebrate this gigantic moment in Cassidy's life. We wanted to be there for her. It speaks to what we do here as a Catholic school. The love that we instill for God and for our faith community really speaks to that.
In this case of Cassidy, this is why we have Catholic education. This is why Catholic schools are important, because the influence of good, holy, if you will, peer pressure changes lives. And I think Cassidy's desire to be baptized and to receive her first Holy Communion, it is just an overwhelming showing of God's presence in the schools.
My mom always thought Catholics were more into church and God more. And so when my mom passed, I just had a feeling like my mom would want me to do this. My mom would want me to be Catholic. My mom would want me to be closer to God. My mom would want me to be happy.
I realized I was shot, but I had to get back up because I didn't want to get shot again.
A courageous story about a local dance teacher who relied on faith to get back on her feet. I'm Robin Mall. This story coming up next.
The Prayer and Perfect Pairing event coming up in October showcases recipes from local priests. I'm Jordan WHITEKO. Coming up, a preview of what's for dinner.
Hey, Grandpa, do you want to come to my game this weekend? I'll be cooking.
When your hearing loss affects your life and relationships, it's time for a free hearing test at Beltone. Our specialists can thoroughly evaluate your hearing to determine the best solution for you.
Are you going to be at my game tonight?
Can't wait to see you hit a home run. Thanks to Beltone, I can hear my favorite sounds again, and my life feels complete. I am so glad I went to Beltone. Maybe you should too.
My great-great-grandparents started Rizzo's 84 years ago, and we're still here today. Same business, same family, same location. We have our lines of sauce and pasta in the stores. We have a banquet facility. We have a line of chocolates. The business really has expanded, but consistent is the tradition and the quality. We're about tradition here at Rizzo's, and we invite you to come start a tradition yourself.
You constantly worry about their safety. Then, why aren't you worried about this? We've known the big hits are bad. Now we're learning all those little hits can be worse. Choose brain-safe sports. Learn more at stopcte.org.
A dance teacher and parishioner from right here in Irwin was visiting Las Vegas when she was seriously wounded by a mass shooter. Under fire, she turned to the Lord for strength to make it out alive.
We were getting ready to leave the casino. We were about 20 steps from the escalator, and we heard pop, pop, pop. And I stopped, and I turned to my husband, and I went to say, it sounded like fire, but I heard the shots again. And that's when I knew that someone was shooting. So I went to turn and run. And when I went to step on my leg, I didn't have a leg to step on. I fell. So in that second, I realized I was shot, but I had to get back up because I didn't want to get shot again. The first thing I did when I was on the ground crawling was praying to God. Please, God, watch over us. Please don't be a terrorist attack. Please get us out of this building, and please don't get anybody else shot, because I thought he could be shooting other people also. They were pushing on the side of my knee, and it was coming out so bad my husband thought that I was shot twice. It went through the side of my knee and came out my calf. The main arteries in your leg, I'm gonna bleed out. That's all I kept thinking. A guy came with a SWAT gun, and he stood behind us, and he said, "Don't worry, I know you can't move, but I'm gonna stay with you."
Almost 14 years later, a smile hides Carrie Hurtnecke's pain. Most of her TAP students have no idea that her left leg was nearly lost to a gunman's bullet. Years of excruciating rehab and daily prayers got her back on stage. Carrie says God made her to dance. She trained for years, then began teaching. But after the shooting, there was a time when she didn't even think she would walk again.
I severed my perineal nerve, which is, it runs from your knee all the way, and it crosses over all the way into your toes. And I lost all of that feeling. I couldn't walk, move, anything. He's like, point your toe, flex your toe. Tried to point my foot, flex it, wouldn't move. You're telling your foot to do something, your right foot's doing it, and your left foot wouldn't move. I did physical therapy for over a year. Not one change in my foot, and I went 3 times a week.
It was her pastor, Father John Mono, who encouraged her to offer her struggles up to God and to be grateful that she was still alive.
So if I didn't have faith and I didn't have God to lean on to, I don't know what I would have done, because that helped me through so many things. You have to lean on that, and thank goodness I have my whole life. Like I said, I've grown up in the Catholic faith, so thankful for it.
Carrie continued to turn to the Lord, who has blessed her with a husband and 3 sons. Every day, Carrie puts on her TAP shoes and her bracelet with the Lord's Prayer on it.
And I bought this bracelet, and it's our Lord's Prayer. And I always have it facing me, the Lord's Prayer, so the Lord is coming to me always. And I pray every day for everybody out there to be safe. That's what I pray for, good health and to be safe. Because it's so hard to look past, because I'm so upset about my leg, it doesn't work. But I'm so thankful to be here. And I'm so thankful that I was able to get married, I was able to have children. Do I have to do things a different way? Absolutely. But be thankful for what I have left.
I'm Jordan WHITEKO in the kitchen with Monsignor Michael Bagali, and we're chopping for charity. Details about a dinner to support mission work is up next.
Even right now, I'm a senior graduating in college, out of St. Vincent. I want to do my 4 years here again. That's how much I love this place.
I've had so many experiences, and I've met so many wonderful people here. And I'm just so thankful that they've helped me grow into who I am now.
St. Vincent's just a place where if you're here, you're just magnetized toward positivity and openness and kindness to people. It's just what happens, and that's why, that's what a home is. So that's why St. Vincent's my home.
You constantly worry about his safety. Then why aren't you worried about this? Protect his brain. Prevent CTE. Learn more at stopcte.org.
The Prayer and Perfect Pairing event takes place on October 8th, and it showcases recipes made by local priests.
I'm in the kitchen with Monsignor Michael Bugali, who's going to give us a preview of the salad course. So why don't you tell us what we got here today?
Today we're doing an arugula salad with figs, prosciutto, parmesan, and walnuts. First thing I want you to do is toast the walnuts. So if you would take those and put it on a medium-high heat, and while that's doing that, you can come over here and begin to chop the prosciutto.
Sounds good.
Slice it into ribbons lengthwise, and then we're going to fry that. Twice the width of your finger.
Like that?
That's excellent.
Is it all like separate right now?
It will separate once we put it in the frying pan.
It's good.
It is. Give me a taste too.
Yeah,
Don't be
go
so
ahead.
surprised.
Sorry. All right.
While you're doing that, I'm going to
You're gonna stir the walnuts? Okay.
They don't burn.
I was wondering about those. So how long do the walnuts cook for?
About 5 minutes.
And you're just toasting them?
Yes. After we take the walnuts off the heat, we lower the heat and then add a little bit of olive oil, and then we will crisp the prosciutto for about 7 minutes. And while the prosciutto is cooking, we're going to prepare the figs for the dressing. And so we cut them up in small pieces. I find it's easiest to cut the dried figs with scissors rather than doing them with a knife, because the knife tends to get very sticky. So we have about a half a cup of dried figs. We're going to add about 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar and a big tablespoon of raw honey. You can use any kind of honey. Give it a stir. We're going to cover it with saran wrap now and then put it in the microwave for about 45 seconds or a minute until the figs are plumped. And then we're going to add a good tablespoon of the minced shallots to the figs.
How's
Perfect.
that?
That is
All right.
perfect.
This smells really good so far.
And now we're going to add a little bit more olive oil and stir that in.
So just eyeball it.
Yes. After it cools, we will then add the arugula, freshly washed. And since this salad can also be made with romaine lettuce, for those who don't like arugula, Jordan, you can add the romaine lettuce to the dressing at this point.
Okay.
And I'll add the arugula and toss it with the tongs.
Okay.
Plate your salad. Then we take some of the walnuts, place them on top, some of the shaved parmesan, and a little of the crispy prosciutto as well. Salt and pepper to taste, and we are ready to serve. So what do you think?
This was very good, and I appreciate you taking the time to show us how to make it.
Thanks for coming to Mother of Sorrows Parish.
If you're interested in attending the Prayer and Perfect Pairings event October 8th to support mission work sponsored by the Diocese of Greensburg, visit dioceseofgreensburg.org/prayerandperfectpairings. To watch this show and read more about it, visit theaccentonline.org.